Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Podcast G. Today we have a great guest that will be joining us later on. We'll have the gentle, the kind Nyarout Jock. She will be joining us momentarily. Um, Thank you for tuning in, and also please do not forget to subscribe or follow us on our Facebook and YouTube page at Podcast G 24. Our YouTube page is Podcast G 24. So we have a very exciting today. We have a very exciting day today as Nyarot and I will be discussing a journey to Canada. Pardon me, I have a little bit of a cold. So her journey to Canada, her growing up here, another aspect of life.
All right. So this podcast is very simple and basic. It's not fancy like the rest of the podcast. I'm not an online influencer. I'm not somebody that is talking on advocating for others. Simply, the purpose is simply here just to hear people out that are doing big things, better things, and also people that the community are seeing us change maker in our society within our community. First and foremost, to our viewers, our future viewers, potential viewers that will watch this. So, our guest today is Nyarout Jock, Nyarout Peter II Jock. Um, just simple introduction to her. So, she's a social media influencer, a youth mentor, a role model, a good community uh, advocate for youth, actually addressing issues that are affecting youth within the South Sudanese Canadians diaspora. She is a God-fearing young lady, of course. Yeah, for those who are not aware that she goes to church most of the time. Yeah, this is Nyarout Jock, and we are happy today for her to join us on the kickoff of this podcast, to be our first guest. So we appreciate you, Nyarout. We thank you, and thank you for making time today.
Thanks for having me on,
Thank
and
you.
thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, that's good. Well, no problem. So, of course, I know you are involved in so many things. You also have your whole life, your whole job that you are doing. Um, uh, you are busy here and there, getting your hands to whatever things you are asked to do. Uh, I know it's not for you to say yes when you are asked to help out, and I can attest to that. I think we did few stuff together that I was really impressed by your professionalism and your leadership. So I appreciate you, and I have to be mindful of your time because probably we're just taking time off your work or your business schedule. So it's not going to be a long conversation. It will be short, simple, and to the point. Of course, all this conversation will be based on our guest, me myself asking questions. For those who will be watching our interview, they have to know that I'm not a journalist. Uh, I do not live up to journalism standard. Yeah, I'm just a simple guy, just facilitating this podcast.
Yeah.
And down the road, hopefully, our viewers will be impressed with the conversation that they will hear on the road and with guests like you. Yeah. Uh, Tell us a little bit about yourself. How was 24 has been? 24 is coming to an end pretty soon.
Yeah. I think it was a good year. There was like a lot of different things that happened, but at the end of the day, God is still good. So for that, I'm really happy. This year, I got to travel. I went to South Sudan. I went to New York. And yeah, I got to explore. And what else about this year? Yeah, this year has been good. I've been more in my career. I am trying to get more into marketing. So right now I work at a art gallery and I do social media marketing for them.
Oh, yeah.
And I got into marketing maybe like 2 or 3 years ago when I first started getting into social media. So I worked at a marketing agency before, and then when my internship ended, I started working here a month later. So I really like it here. We had a gala this year, and at the gala we made $3 million. So that was so crazy.
How much? What? $3 million?
Yeah, from people buying art and making donations. So the art gallery is a different experience, and I think I learned a lot this year. There's so many different people that come into the building, and sometimes people think, oh, when you come to an art gallery, you just look at art, or it's people that make art. But for other communities, it's a income source or a way to like have a name for yourself. Like when people donate to our art gallery, sometimes areas can be named after them in the building. So it's about legacy for them. So it's been a learning experience to know about the side.
So basically, what you guys do is auction the arts out, or
Yeah, so it was an art auction. So it was a dinner and then an art auction as well. So that was in the springtime.
In the springtime.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, congratulations for being part of a $1 million company. That's it. Yeah, I can imagine how the planning process would be. Like how hectic it.
Yeah, it is pretty hectic.
Yeah. Well, I understand you recently came. Well, I think you went to South Sudan in July.
Mm-hmm.
Was it July? Yes, it was July. Yeah. But prior to that, let's go back a bit, so our listener or viewer can have an understanding of where you came from. Of course, you grew up here in Canada, but do you have any fond memories of the genesis of how you, your parents, and your siblings? I think most of your siblings are born here. How, like, do you have any fond memories that you have in mind? Because I have a picture that I saw on your IG. With your mom, that I believe you were only 2 or 3 years old in that.
Yeah, maybe I think I know the picture you're talking about, but yeah, I was born in Sherkola in Ethiopia, and then we came here when I was 2 with me and my parents, and then after that, all of my siblings were born. So I have 6 siblings, and I'm the eldest. And I think this is a picture you mean, right?
Oh yes, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's a nice photo.
Yeah, so that was me and my uncle, and my mom said that was before we came here. So I think we came here very soon after to Canada, and he saw my picture on Facebook, like a recent picture, and he said, "Wow, I have a younger picture of her." So I just found that picture very recently, but it's very inspiring to see. In the background is my grandma is here.
Oh, that's your grandma.
So that's the one people always say I look like her. Like they're like, you don't look like anybody in your family but your grandmother.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that picture too. Yeah, my parents always told us stories about how the camp was for us, how they got to the camp, which was a journey, and then how they came here. And it's not easy. So I'm really grateful that they made that journey. And we are really lucky to make it here. Not many people do get that chance. And I think it's when you really want something, God gives it to you. And I think they really wanted to be here. There's a reason why all of us are here, even though there's millions of people that wanted the same thing but didn't make it. So yeah, I always think about those pictures and those stories that they tell me when I'm working towards something. Yeah.
It is extra motivation.
Yeah.
That gets you going.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing. Like me, I'm the second child in my family, so I have an older sister. But with our culture, there's this narrative that girls are, they can have a second child, and I happen to be a boy, so I take over the role of the family for any situations that my mom or my younger siblings can somebody to realize on as not only as a breadwinner for them right now, but also growing up. So I have that special place that I usually get. So but in the Western world is different context. So as the firstborn and the oldest, and also with gender roles. So how did you growing up in Canada? How did you cope with this situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's when you grow up in Canada, like gender roles are there, but not in the same way that they are back home, right? So back home, they expect like a girl should be learning how to cook and clean and do all those things in the house to help the mom, and that boys shouldn't do those things, right? So I used to always argue with my parents. I would say, I think everyone in the house should do something. All the boys. I think my dad should help too. I think everyone should learn how to cook.
Yeah.
I think it's good to have those skills, right? That's
Yeah.
my argument. That was always my argument when I was younger. And I think now that I'm older, I do understand the gender roles. Like I do understand why it's important to have like a man in the house as a provider and have be in that role, and why it's important for a woman to be good at those things as well. So I do understand those things in our culture. But it is different with Canadian culture. But I think now that I'm older, my role as the firstborn daughter, I think it's I feel like when I went back to South Sudan, they told me like I'm essentially and we now like I'm the man, like I'm an older person in our family, right? I think that was the transition from being a young girl to now being a woman and the oldest in my family. It's more respect, right? Because people understand that you have more responsibility and you have the ability to help your family now. And I think it's a blessing. It's when I was younger, I didn't like that responsibility. I wondered why do I have to do all of these things when my people my age don't have to do that. But now I appreciate that I have that responsibility and I have that respect. And I think when you earn that respect, there's no difference between a man and a woman in our culture. We can do the same thing. And yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Well explained. Yeah, you put it well together.
Yeah.
Where I can't
Yeah.
just put it together. Well, yeah. I'm always impressed with your, and also I think it does play a role being the eldest. I think your calmness and also I've never seen you react to any situation in a very angry manner. So I think those are advantages
Mhm.
when you understand your role and also grow out of frustration that comes with it as well.
Yeah.
And we are human, right?
Yeah.
I'm impressed with how you um, your calmness and the way you address yourself.
Thank
So yeah, yeah. So I can't recall I can't recall the first time. I think the first time I saw you, because when we were doing events, your dad, myself, and Amos Core and others, you are always with your dad and you always like to help. I think those were your high school years. Yeah. But I can recall the first time because I came to Calgary in 2011
you. Mhm.
after finishing college. Then I got a job. I moved to Calgary. But I started engaging in community activities in 2013, late
Mhm.
2013, actually 2014. Yeah. And with the situation that happened in South Sudan, so we were actually engaged even more. And that's the time I see you also
Yeah.
playing roles in different activities,
Mhm.
those conferences, those events, galas that we were putting together. So you always were willing to help. And I think you are perfectionist. Everything that you put your hands on, it turned out to be very perfect. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. One of the tasks that I was very impressed with you was it a barbecue that you guys did for high school graduate? Yeah.
I
What,
don't quite remember that one very well.
oh, you remember that one very well?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
went to a
believe
lot
it
of,
was
there was a lot
2017.
of events,
Yeah, yeah. I believe it was 2017,
or maybe it was like my sister's graduation, something.
Yeah, yeah,
There was a few graduation barbecue and parties that we had during that time. Yeah.
At that time, I had a little organization that I run, right? And then you guys requested support, but you guys put it out perfectly. Like I was very impressed. And there was also a youth conference that had a basketball event in St. Mary, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was good.
yeah. That was perfect. So So with all that are going on in our community, I tend to focus more on the positives that are happening, because usually there are so many things that are happening in the world we live in, but the wrong things also get talked about most. And I think it's one of the narrative that is putting our community down too much, because every community, every society has its downfalls, as it is as such as situations. So if we concentrate more on uplifting the individuals that are, contributing in a positive way, I think we should even shine better, right? And I think you are one of those that play a role, contributing in that aspect in our community. That's one of the main reasons I wanted you to be the first on this podcast. I know you are like you help in so many organizations and also running your own activities. Can you talk to us more about being like an influencer, because the social media? What messages that you think you are like concentrating most, that people give you, the feedback that you get when you are sending a message out there? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think with being a social media influencer, I think people want advice, especially the younger girls. So that was something I thought about sometimes, especially when I do the firstborn daughter type of videos, or when I do videos regarding South Sudan or regarding our culture. I make those videos to improve the narrative about being South Sudanese and not being ashamed of your culture, regardless of what space you're in, and do it in the way that makes sense for you. So whether it's I share a video of the dances that the kids do, or talking about my experience when I went back home, or just sharing different words in our language, I like to just sprinkle it in. It's not my whole identity because I like different things, but I like to connect with the younger girls just to show them that there's more that you can do. Because I think when I was younger, I didn't realize that there's different careers that you can do, or that you can travel, or you can try different things, you know. So I just wanted to share that perspective. And even if they don't do exactly what I do, I want people to have the courage to do what is best for them. Because sometimes, even we're outside of being South Sudanese, I think being Black, people expect you to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has to be like that. I think people can decide the things that they like, and that's what I want to emphasize the most. Be yourself and do the things that you like. And if you don't know what you like, discover that and don't feel scared to. So that's the main message that I hope comes across when I share my stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually seen some of the video. I watched some of the video on your TikTok and IG. And speaking of options and career, the the notion that most kids are brought up with is to have a degree, go to college, and all of that. But in our diaspora in Canada, U.S., Australia, or Europe, there are so many things you can do there to earn an income, to make life better for yourself. You don't necessarily need to have a college degree or whatnot
Mm-hmm.
to to earn a living.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I watched some of your videos, and they are very inspiring. Um, Even your trip, I think your recent trip to New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
Attending conferences. I don't know if it's for influencer or whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah.
you see a little bit of that. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. So what? So now that you are sharing those messages that are positive, that encouraging to the younger generation after you, are you getting any feedback from them in terms of them getting inspired? Like, do you receive feedback from your follower?
Yeah, I think like when I go out in public, people will talk to me about it. They'll ask me about where to buy something or advice. Sometimes they want more videos about career, more videos about um,
Yeah,
South Sudan, more videos about the conferences.
yeah,
So they do ask me those things, and I do give them that information.
yeah,
But it is good feedback most of the time.
yeah. What was your first? What inspired you from the beginning when you started engaging in community activities? Was it your dad, and being well, I call him one of the pillar within the South Sudanese community in Calgary, maybe in Alberta or Canada in general, because he played a role in church, him leading during tough times, leading South Sudanese Council of Churches,
Mhm.
facilitating a lot of humanitarian activities to those that were displaced. Like, what was that your motivation for you to get engaged, get involved in the community, or
Mhm.
it was something that you feel like it is time for you to also make your voice heard?
I think it was a part of it because when you see your parents doing something, it makes you feel like it's not too hard for you to do.
Yeah,
So when I see my mom or my dad up there talking, okay, I'm like, okay, I can also say what I think as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
And when my dad was doing the South Sudanese Council of Churches,
yeah,
one thing I would say to him is, why don't you include any of the kids, and why don't they include the kids in the programming? Because I felt like it was so boring for us,
mhm.
especially at church. Like we weren't involved, we weren't doing anything in it. So someday he asked me,
Yeah, just told to sit down. Yeah, sit down and listen.
sit down and listen. But I felt like we should be included, even if we don't speak Nuer well, we should be included and speak English so we
Yeah,
feel connected. Because I understood what they were saying, and I liked when I go to church. When I would go to Nuer church, I would understand what they were saying. I liked it, but I felt like my peers didn't understand it. So that's why I wanted to get connected. So my dad invited me to do a poem. That was the first time I
yeah,
at church. It was for the 2013 genocide. So I did a poem on that event. And that was also something that I was passionate about because it was affecting our community, right? And I was more hopeful that South Sudan would be peaceful rather than go into a war. And so that was something that I was really passionate about. And that was also why I wanted to be more involved in the community.
mhm,
But after getting involved in that for some years and trying to or discussing more things about what's going on back home, I understood that we were neglecting our home here because South Sudan is our home, but Canada is also our home. And I feel like so much of our focus all the time is on the communities there when we really are struggling here. So that's also why I was so passionate about getting involved in the South Sudanese youth organizations to make sure, okay, like a lot of us are not doing well. A lot of people are dying at an age that they shouldn't and
yes,
getting involved in things and are really traumatized. So I wanted to get involved and see if there was any solutions because at school, many of my friends were not South Sudanese.
mhm,
They were Indian, Nigerian, Chinese, white. It was very multicultural, and we would talk about all of our problems. But the problems that we face is nothing they ever faced. If I told them, "Oh, I went to a funeral last week for like somebody who was 15," they were like, "What? How can that happen?" Or I would say somebody in my community got shot last month or they overdosed. And I kept telling them these things. And every time I told them, they were so shocked. And to our community, we were so desensitized to it, you know? I was not really like, it was a big deal, but it's something that happens a lot. So we were used to it. And I didn't want that to continue. And I felt like the best thing to do was to connect with the younger kids, even if it's not my peers, like my age group. It had to be my younger siblings that are um,
yeah,
that we connect with and help the most.
yeah.
So that's why I'm so passionate about it.
Well, yeah, and you are doing fantastic in doing that. I feel like, I mean, during our generation, during our time, I think because we were culturally connected, we have cultural connection with the elders. Some of us were doing better, but your generation, there were so many challenges because majority are born here. So for us, we also had much interest back home because we came a little bit older.
Mhm.
Um, uh, when it comes to your generation, like the saying that is in the community is there's this gap within the genders. So the girls are doing better in terms of education and also in terms of employment, maintaining their jobs.
Mhm.
The boys are the ones that are struggling. But in your situation, uh, is a little bit different, because the concern that many people are talking about is the homes. The homes are like broken homes, more like these young guys struggle because the father figures are not around.
Mm-hmm.
So as a young person that is connected to this generation, like what are the conversations that you are hearing or you are having that would give hope to these young, let's say, boys in particular? And I don't want to get into any issue. There are certainly a lot of young guys out there doing fantastic things as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the conversation you are hearing from these guys or these individuals that are struggling to find themselves
Mm-hmm.
to the right resources or right crowd?
Yeah, I think they struggle with identity and like feeling like a man
Yeah.
or feeling like, yeah, where do they fall into being a man? I think that's the biggest one, because when you're in Canadian society, the thing that makes you a man is if you have money, if you have a good job, if you have a degree. There's like a lot of criteria that I feel like a lot of our young men don't really meet, and I don't think it's because they don't want to meet those things. I think they really do have a desire to be successful, but it's the path to getting to that success that is difficult, right? And I think, especially for young South Sudanese boys, they look at different paths of success, like sports or entertainment, making music, right? And that path of success is difficult to break into. Like, even if it looks so glamorous on social media or on entertainment and anything, it's difficult. Even the people that are in it, they don't even have money in the way that we think, it's such an illusion. So I think sometimes our young men, they get stuck once they realize that dream is not going to be a reality, and with being an athlete, it's difficult to make it to that top level as well, right? It's so competitive. You need support. I think that's the biggest thing as well. Like, they think that they can do it on their own because it's a lot of responsibility for them too. They feel like, okay, if I make it, then I can do something for my family. If I make it to the NCAA and I make $20 million, my family will be okay. So I need to do it on my own. But the people that make it to the NBA, they have a team to help them get there, And sometimes even, I think we don't realize the abuse that a lot of our young boys go through as well, even when they're in university doing these sports or with the coaches. They're not being treated well, but those are things that they might not voice because they want to make it happen, right? So I think the hope that I would give them is that they come from somewhere and they come from something more than that, right? I think that's what I understood this summer when I went to South Sudan is, okay, like, not everybody in our country is struggling. And I think because we don't really see like successful examples all the time, then we start to think that our whole society is low. But when you see successful examples, you then feel like you can come to the occasion and you're not the first one to do it. So that's what I want to say. That you're not the first one to be successful. There are many people in our community that are successful, even if you don't know them. We do have lawyers, we do have athletes, we have everything that any other country has. Maybe we just don't see it. But I would probably just encourage them to find those examples. And if you are that example for somebody, share your journey is what I would say. Like, as a older man, share that with younger boys. Yeah, because we do have engineers, we do have doctors. So I think it's looking for those role models, asking them for the advice, and then we can all guide each other. But yeah, I hope that answered the question.
That's total, and I like you explained it well. And I think it's like coming from you. It is one of those educational topic that I think mostly we, the elder, I add myself there. Not that I'm not an elder, but we tend to focus more on judgmental side of it. We are not looking to how we can give hope to others, because these guys are just, whenever there's a gathering, is an elder that is usually talking. So their perspective, how they feel about certain situation is not heard. even within all these situations that have happened, a loss of lives. Usually, elders are the one that are talking too much, and
Yeah,
these
I
are
think it should be less talking in that way, but like more interpersonal relationships, like
exactly.
especially like if it's like you, for example, and you see like a
Yes.
18-year-old boy and you know he's impressionable, talk to him, ask him what he's up to, what he wants to do. And if you tell him about your journey, that's the way that it begins. You know, I think that's how community is built, just normal conversations. I think our generation, we don't like when the parents are having meetings with us and they're saying, you guys need to do this and that. But if you just talk normally, then that's more impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, thank you for sharing that. And I think this is a learning curve that from our generation to the oldest one need to learn from. But I know Core really tried to give like from us, he gave us a platform, and then building up guys like myself and guys like Gar and others. So it was a blessing in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But like hearing from you right now as
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's also transferring that knowledge back. So within the community settings, I totally believe that you guys should be given a bigger platform with that
Mm-hmm.
event. Especially, I was really impressed with the cultural day that happened. So I seen a lot of young people that were there, and even though I was not around, I was following it every single day, and I was happy to see you there also introducing those groups. So, um, doing that, let's talk about your involvement with South Sudanese use of Canada. Yeah, it is an entity. I remember when you guys did your first conference, I was up in the territories. You reached out to me, but I couldn't make it. I was all the way up there. I was also impressed with what you guys did. I believe it was last winter. But before that, run us through. Sorry, I should have turned my stuff off. Yeah, run us through the goals and objective and the genesis of this youth organization. What is it? What do you guys want? What is it that you want to accomplish? And what are the plans of getting more young people engaged with this organization?
Well, the South Sudanese Youth of Canada, it's an organization that connects with different South Sudanese youth across Canada. So
Mhm.
there's a group in Saskatchewan, there's a group in Ontario, there's a group in Calgary, there's a group in Edmonton. Um, I think there's a group in Manitoba as well. So all of those groups, we all work in the cities individually, but connect for the conferences. So there's been 3 conferences, one in Edmonton, one in Saskatchewan, and one in Calgary. So the first time I went was when I went to Saskatchewan, and yeah, there was so many different South Sudanese youth that were there from different tribes as well, different ages. When I first went to that conference, I think it actually changed my perspective on everything because um, the South Sudanese youth that were at that event were really, to me, successful. One of the first people that I met was McNeil. He also goes by Nyani. He's an engineer and doctor.
Yeah.
And whenever we had our conversation, he just told me about his journey and trajectory in his education. And that was my first time meeting somebody who did both. Those are both really hard
Mhm.
things to study. And then, but he made it seem very easy. So that was like inspiring for me to know that I can do anything that I decide as well. And at the conference, people discuss their business ideas. There was a guy there who got a business grant for, I think, 80,000 or like 60,000 or something to work on his startup. And he was also South Sudanese, and he explained the process to us, how he did it. But those were the first times that I ever saw our people or people of my age group um, contributing to society in that way. So that was my introduction to South Sudanese Youth of Canada. And after that, I got involved in the organizing committee. So in last summer or 2023, August was when we had our mental health conference. So we want to have a mental health conference to address mental health and addiction because that's such a big issue in our community. So I think we had maybe 400 youth that came from Calgary and across Canada to come to Calgary. Everybody was so excited to come, and they're all the people from the different cities are really wanting Calgary to come up and lead the way since it's such a big South Sudanese community, right? So it had to happen here. But the mental health conference, it was really good. We had different mental health professionals from the community discuss, just discuss mental health and any like ways to address it. And we had open dialogue with the elders as well, where we asked them important questions like why they focus on back home rather than us, because I think that's an area a lot of youth feel neglected in that way, especially the young boys with their fathers. So we did really get to the questions that we don't really discuss openly, and I think in that way people did feel relieved that okay, we're getting somewhere and we're breaking the ice for the real conversations. So that was a good conference for us.
Yeah.
And for the future, I think we would like more youth empowerment, more success within our community, and more mentors as well as time goes on, as the generations get older and we continue in our careers. Hopefully people can know that we are here as well.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to see what you guys are doing next, and hopefully if I can be any helpful, I'll try my best. I think I was very impressed with the closing drive that you guys did last year. Was it last week, last Christmas time? Helping out unfortunate individuals with warm clothing like that. Was it? Yeah, I believe it was 2023, right?
Yeah, it was like a food drive for the homeless shelter.
Yeah. Are you guys planning on doing it again this year? Or?
I think right now everybody's so busy, so we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. Every year is different. There's the responsibilities just keep going. Right? Yeah. Well, I hope you guys keep it up. Well, let's talk a bit about like because you recently visit South Sudan, and speaking of South Sudan, the elders or guys from their 40s and back, their main focus is back home. You firsthand seeing what South Sudan is, since you never go back there. What are the like just to what was your assessment of, even though you were not there for a longer time? So what was your assessment of?
I think I understand why our elders are more connected to South Sudan. It is better than here. From what I saw, it is better than here in terms of resources, in terms of land. It's really green. There's so much resources that are just unused because our government and our country is corrupt, But I understand better now why our parents would always say, this is not our country, we have to return to. Because I think if it wasn't for the war, many South Sudanese would have never left, right?
That's right.
So what I can see about South Sudan is it does have a long way to go. But for Juba, I would say it was a lot better than I was expecting, at least from my experience. I know that there's like a lot of people there that are struggling, and many of our people are not even there. So it's not in those ways, but in some ways there's a lot of opportunities. There's many different people that are in South Sudan as well that aren't South Sudanese. There's Ethiopians there, there's Ugandans there, North Sudanese, Arabs. Everybody's there, but what I would say is I feel like our generation is afraid to go there. But
it is the new land of the opportunity.
Everybody is going there instead. But there's many opportunities. I wish I could describe it better. I would say like
I think that's a good way to put it together, and as someone that has a way, your future is ahead of you. it's a simple way to put it. There's hope there, but it will take time.
Yeah, it will take time. When I went to, so I had the opportunity to go to the Ministry of Petroleum, and I
Oh,
met one of the,
kind
yeah, I met Khan when we were there, and we talked briefly. And while I was sitting in his office, there was maybe 10 people, or 10 to 15 people waiting to talk to him as well.
of,
And his secretary was there, and they were asking the secretary, when can we go in? And they were also asking him, like, oh, do you remember us? And the secretary said, oh, I meet with many people every day. Like, I don't know if I recognize you. And it's just crazy because that's how big South Sudan is, one. But two, like, people communicate very openly. They speak English, they speak Noor, they speak Dinka, they speak Arabic interchangeably. Like, everybody walks in, they'll say Mala, they'll say Salam Alaikum, and you don't know who's Noor, and you don't know who's Dinka.
yeah.
That was confusing me, but what I
It's a diverse country. Yeah.
it's very diverse.
Yeah.
And we also have people there that are working. I think there's a misconception that more people are not involved in the government or we don't have anything in South Sudan, but we are working and people are making their way in, and that's what I saw. And that was helpful to me that we're not discriminated in the way that people think. So I don't like the victim game. I think it's like there's a way. If you really need something, there's a way for you to get there. And South Sudan is our country as much as it is for everybody. So I really feel like we have the right to contribute to our society. Um, not to get too political, but yeah, South Sudan is for everybody. We all fought for it. That's how I feel about it. And it was good to see that our people are in influential positions. But when I was sitting there, the guy said, right now, South Sudan is for the elites, but one day we hope that South Sudan will be for the people. And he was like a young guy, like maybe around your age. And that was another thing that surprised me. Everywhere that I looked in my office, there was people your age that were there or my age that were there. It wasn't the elders that you think it is.
I actually used to work with Port before he got the position.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was the inaugural youth league person in Canada. So I was working under him. So I know a bit about him. Yeah, he's very close to me in terms of age, but
yeah,
and somebody like you though, like to be honest, you are an eloquent speaker, good speaker. You know how to convince people with your good wordings, and also you have a potential to do something in South Sudan down the road.
Yeah.
Your dad is a lawmaker right now in South Sudan, in Afghanistan. So you never know. You may follow, his footsteps, right? Because I know how close you are with your dad, you and your dad. So you never know. Even the way you explain it, very politely in a way that cannot offend anybody. I understand.
Yeah. We'll see. Hopefully it stays stable. But my dad says that to me. Like last time I told him I prefer business and marketing over politics, right? And he said, "But you are a politician." He said, "You will be a politician." So I do think I think it's cool. It's interesting.
Yeah. What message should you give somebody that is very I don't want to use a bad wording. Yeah, someone that is not optimistic of visiting or not has ever occurred. Like, would you suggest to people that go visit, go do your own assessment, like people that are really or people your age that actually grew up here in Canada?
Yeah, I would suggest that they go under like safe circumstances. I was able to stay with one of my uncles, so I felt comfortable when I was there. But I would say go. It will definitely change your perspective and make you understand your identity. Because when I arrived there at the airport, I don't have a South Sudanese passport. I had a visa, so I was in the visa international line with people that weren't South Sudanese. And then when I got to the front, he said, "Are you South Sudanese?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Welcome home." And that was a very important feeling for me to know, okay, I belong somewhere. Because when you're in Canada, you kind of don't feel like you belong 100%. Even if you speak the language well and you've gone to school here, or you've lived here your whole life, you don't belong.
Yeah.
When you're in South Sudan, no one can question if you are South Sudanese.
So that pride comes back to you.
Yeah,
Even in multiple ways, right?
yeah, it's that plastic.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend, and especially for young men, I would 100% recommend, because I think they need that connection to home and connection to see what their fathers and uncles and the men in their family are doing. Because for me, I didn't understand what my dad was doing there until I went. And then all of the other guys that work in government, they told me, this is what your dad is doing. And you might not see the process or understand it, but you must know that what he's doing is a good thing. So it helps you understand the significance of what your parents are working towards. Because when we're here, we're like, oh, our dad is back home.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel like, why are they there and not with us?
Yeah.
When you
So,
go there,
you had an opportunity to go see firsthand the things he talks about.
yeah, you see why.
Yeah, you see the reason why. Yeah, and you see how like the population that is counting on him for the betterment of their lives, not only. Yeah, so there, that's a positive thing. That's very important. I think.
Yeah.
You seeing it firsthand, not only saying he comes and he leaves, and then yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you wrapped it up pretty good. Let's shift gear a little bit. I don't want to get you in trouble. Um, let's with work culture. So with your generation and them being part of the work culture, and I don't know for our viewer out there, work culture is a new thing. People that are involved in correcting whatever the conservative perspective are, like being from a traditional South Sudanese household. So what are, it might be different from your parents because they are a little bit progressive. So what are some situations out there, and just to be straightforward, let's say somebody that is not from your culture come ask for your hand in marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
and for another, your brother RJ,
Mm-hmm.
so bringing somebody that's not different, that's not your race, you're not from the same culture. So how do you think, from South Sudanese perspective, are dealing with the work culture within our society? Do you think, are you seeing progress in terms of the accepting other cultures from our parents, from your parents that are actually probably will want you to get married to a Nur man, want RJ to get married to a Nur girl, and all that? Like how did, not only from your household perspective, like generally, does it make sense?
So in terms of like relationships in our,
Yeah.
like, how do parents feel about marrying outside of your culture or being with somebody else? I think it depends on the family as well, like how strict they are about that. I think the first preference, of course, would be to be with somebody that is in our tribe. So I think that one hasn't changed that much, but I think compared to 10 years ago, it's really different now. I think parents are more accepting of the idea of marrying outside of our culture. I think the most important thing is to be with someone who is respectful of your culture and values and has similar beliefs to you. I think that's the main priority that most parents have first, because I think they would rather their children be with somebody who is good for them in those ways rather than be with someone that is the same culture but doesn't have those qualities and characteristics. So I think especially for like a lot of young women, it is difficult to find somebody that meets those standards because our culture has high standards. We do, like expensive
dowries and
not everybody can pay that one.
Yeah.
We do have high standards for our culture.
And I'm bringing this up. Sorry, I'm to cut you off. I'm bringing this up because there was a young lady that was trending on. I think she's in Canada. That was trending on TikTok. You know, she stated that the reason she was giving a rationale, the reason why she's not dating a South Sudanese man, and then and her reason was very strong, which I do believe her, because she said dating a Sudanese for it. South Sudanese women are struggling to date within their culture because of the issues that men are going through, like not following through with schools, getting engaged in illegal activities. And the rationale was that she didn't want to get involved with somebody that in 10 days later, while they're in the relationship, ending up in a box. So,
Yeah.
so that's why I bring this up. And I want to
I agree with her. I think there are some South Sudanese guys that are doing well, and it's not everybody that is doing those things, of course. But I think the majority of like the people in our age group are not meeting the standards for us in the way that we need, because the ages, we're getting older, right? It's like people are turning.
Happy belated birthday! Sorry.
We're getting older. People are in their 30s as well, and they're waiting for that perfect person. But sometimes it doesn't happen that way, because maybe your standards are here, but the people around you are still not meeting those standards, and you keep waiting and waiting. I don't think the girls have to wait for the guys to step up. That's how I feel about it. I think
it is a hard topic.
Yeah,
it's not easy, and also it comes. Every individual has their own way of seeing it, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of marriages too, another trending topic is dowry problem. So how it's economically putting new couples in a situation where they cannot manage their own affairs. So how do you feel about the dowries problem that so many young ladies are very vocal of it right now, and they are speaking highly, which I'm very happy about, because it is nice coming from the ladies themselves.
Yeah.
You ended up starting a family, and then all the resources that you would start your family with, even how to relatives. So what is your take in it? And I don't want to get you in trouble with your answers.
It's okay. When I was younger, my dad did say to me, he thinks dowry should be affordable for the couple. It shouldn't be anything like too crazy. So I think in our society right now, the dowry, when it's like so expensive, just to say that this person paid 200,000 or 100,000, I don't think that's significant. But I do think dowry is important to maintain. I would probably want a dowry as well, just to maintain the culture. And also, I think there's a level of respect when you do pay the dowry. It means the marriage actually happened culturally as well. But I just don't think it should be too expensive that the couple cannot continue or maintain their life. But I also think before you decide to get married, you should really plan for those things. If you want to have a dowry, if you want to have a traditional wedding that your parents will accept, if you want to have a white wedding, just because that's what you want, you need to plan for those things. And it is expensive, but I think we just have to work towards those things if that's what you want.
And it comes with different stages too, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a cultural, which is include the girls talk, and then there's a white wedding, and then there's a.
It's expensive.
It is crazy, it's like expensive for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy that your generation is picking up about it.
Yeah. I don't think it should mix, because guys are the ones that pay, so we don't have to struggle. But I think that it shouldn't make somebody like struggle.
Yeah, because if your husband to be is paying all of these, and then all your finances, including you as well, and then if you want to start and have a family.
But I will say, in other cultures, like in Arab culture, they do dowry as well. But the boys are told about it from a young age. So even when they're 19, 20, they're already saving for their wedding. So I think there's also that it should be more of a discussion to the boys of these are the expectations that we have in marriage for our culture. But I think the discussions happen too later on, but it should be more of an early conversation.
That's a good point. Yeah. Wow. So the boys out there that are in their 18 years old, 19 and your 20s, start putting money away that are for your future engagement, wedding, and, right? So, so for all the listener out there, this is a learning. Yeah. So add it to your financial plans for the rest of for your next 10 years. I don't want to get married at the age of 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, thank you so much. I think this has been a very productive conversations. And I wish you the best, the very luck. I think you are doing well. You are a mentor. For the rest of us, we are learning from your leadership because learning never stops. So I always follow what you do next. So I'm one of those. I consider you as my little sister because I have a good relationship with your dad. Um, so, so what is next for Nyarout? If somebody want to connect, like, are you okay sharing some of your contacts, informations? If someone want to reach out, if somebody want to know more about the things that you are involved in, a
Yeah.
young person who should
You
connect
can
with.
message me on Facebook or LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, I can give you them.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Just give me the contact, then I'll add your contact info in the end here. Well, um, I appreciate you for making the time,
Thank
and
you.
also for continuing doing what you do.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Let me know what South Sudanese youth of Canada are doing next. Yeah, I'll be in contact for sure. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying your holiday.
Thank you.
The holiday start already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. What would be your last message to somebody that is probably in your age range or younger, new in Canada, they just come to Canada? Like would be your message to them just to wrap it up? Like, what is the message that you would like to share? Even individuals that have been here the longest, or long.
I'd say never give up on what you're doing. Um, Even if you have to change the direction sometimes, just keep pushing. And um, one thing my dad said to me before was, you didn't fail if you didn't give up. So as long as you keep going, then you haven't failed. So even if you feel like you're at the end of the journey for something, continue and maybe something new will come that will take you to your final destination. So just keep on pushing and keep on discovering what works best for you. And um, I would also say sometimes you don't always have to share all of your plans right away. If there's a goal that you really have, but you feel like um, you might get discouraged by other people for it. Just work towards it. Keep your eye on what you're doing, and it will happen. That's what I do. Yeah.
And that's important, right? Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Nyarout. For those that are there that will be watching this video, this is Nyarout Jock. She lives in Canada, and Podcast G is to give a platform to individuals like her that are one in a generation to uplift the other ones that are coming after them. So this is the conversation that we needed in our community to uplift our community. Of course, within this conversation, the words that Nyarout said, there will be somebody listening out there that will pick up one or two from the discussion we had. So continue being hopeful, and everything that you desire in life will come
Thank
to
you.
fruition. Right?
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Nyarout. I appreciate it. Thank you
I
for being
appreciate
a podcast G. Yeah.
you.
Anyway, I will need some tips here and there from you because you are pro in this. Um, I'm, I'm, I'm new in this.
It's
Uh,
okay. It's a good start.
yeah, yeah. So So thank you very much. So
Perfect.
I will continue pushing for podcast G.
Yeah, keep getting episodes